Hi everybody, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday with me, Laura, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create the purl stitch in Tunisian crochet. So if you're new to Tunisian crochet, it is still crocheting, but instead of using a normal sized crochet hook, you are using a very long crochet hook like this, which almost looks like a knitting needle, but at the end you've still got your little crochet hook. And in my previous tutorial, which I did quite a while ago, I'll put a link in the description below, I showed you how to create the knit stitch effect in Tunisian crochet, so it looks just like knitting. I also show you how to do the simple stitch as well, so if you want to check out that video. But in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do the purl stitch, which is possible. But the most important thing to remember with Tunisian crochet is that it is not knitting. So the other side of this purl stitch, you don't get a knit stitch, you just get this bubble effect, which is also a really nice effect in itself. The purl stitch creates quite a nice flat piece of project, unlike the knit stitch, which does have a tendency to roll up. So you will have to block your work if creating the knit stitch. But in the purl stitch, it does create quite a nice flat project, so it looks quite nice. So let's begin. Okay, so for this project I'm just using some DK light worsted weight yarn. That's a yarn weight of 3, and with that I'm using a Tunisian crochet hook, and I'm using a 4mm Tunisian crochet hook. You can get a few different types of Tunisian hooks. You can get these long ones like this in bamboo or steel, just like normal crochet hooks. You can also get ones which have extensions. It's like a piece of plastic which is really long, so you can make quite longer projects. But I'm going to be using this steel knitting needle style crochet Tunisian hook today. And the first thing to do is we are going to chain 20. So we're going to chain however many stitches we want, so we don't do one extra like we do in normal crochet. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 20. So we do our little slip knot first, like so. Get used to using a bigger hook. It can feel a little bit strange at first. We're going to chain 20. We want to chain however many stitches we're going to use, so we're not going to do that extra one like we do in normal crochet. So I'm going to chain 20 because I want 20 stitches. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Okay, so that's just normal chaining as in normal crochet. So we've chained 20. And what we're going to do is we are going to put our hook in our second stitch from hook, so our second chain from hook. We don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, there's our second. So we're going to put our hook into there, and we're just going to bring the yarn through. And this is where it starts to get a bit different, because we're going to stop there. With Tunisian crochet, we just work with lots and lots of loops in crochet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our hook into every chain and bring the yarn through. So we're going to put our hook into the next chain and just bring the yarn through. And then we're going to leave that on our hook. So it's a little bit like knitting in that sense. Put our hook into the next chain, bring the yarn through. It's got 4 loops. Next chain, bring the yarn through. We're going to do this all the way across to the other end until we have 20 loops. So it's the same as our stitch count. Okay, it's the next chain. So start gathering. This is why you need the longer crochet hook for collecting all these loops. To the next chain. Bring the yarn through to the next chain, bring the yarn through into the next chain. Just repeat that all the way across. Okay, I just need to bunch it down as you go. It's almost there. Oops. And every Tunisian project starts off the same, whether you're doing the simple stitch, the knit stitch, purl stitch, or whatever. It all starts off just like this. These first 2 rows, or first 3 rows, if you include the chains, all start off the same. So there we go. So by the end of that, you should have 20 loops on your hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, so we chained 20 and we have 20 loops, even though we worked into our second stitch and hook. We've got 20. And if you've done Tunisian crochet before, this will seem familiar, but to those who haven't, what we then do, and on the back row, so this is when we go back to the start, is we always do a little chain one at the end. So we yarn over and we just come through 1 loop. Okay, just through 1 loop, and we always do that. It's important to remember to do that at the beginning of every back row, as I shall call this. Okay, the little chain 1. But from then on, what we do is we yarn over and we pull through 2 loops. Okay, pull through 2, and we do that all the way across. We yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning. Yarn over, pull through 2, 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 yarn over, pull through 2. You get the idea. So we only do that little chain 1 at the beginning, go through 1 loop, but then from then on, whoops, I went through 3, then on we just yarn over, pull through 2. I keep going through 3. That's not a good idea. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So it's like a really long stitch in a way. Pull through 2, and when you get back to the beginning, you should end up with 2 loops left, yarn over, pull for the last 2, and you're back to your 1 traditional loop on your hook. And that is the first 3 rows, if we include our chains, of Tunisian crochet. And this will be the same for the simple stitch, knit stitch and purl stitch, whatever your project. You'll always start off the same way, like this. And as you can see, what it's created these little vertical bars. You can see here, like a little ladder all the way across. And it's usually under those stitches we are going to work. Okay, so like I said, if you want to check out my simple stitch, if you're brand new to Tunisian crochet, I recommend checking out in the description below my simple stitch tutorial. But to create the purl stitch, what we're going to do now, whenever we work under these little ladder stitches, we don't work under this very beginning one right on the edge. We ignore that completely every time, so don't work under that ladder stitch there, that very beginning one, as you can see there. So that one there, we never work under that. We always go straight to the second one here. Okay, so if you imagine you're working in your second stitch and hook at the beginning, think of the same for when working your Tunisian stitches. We go to our second ladder stitch, as I shall call it, that vertical bar. And what we're going to do is, to do the purl stitch, is we bring the yarn forward. So the yarn has to come forward before we put our loop under that bar. So normally we put our hook under that bar there, like so, but we just need to make sure that our yarn comes to the front. Okay, so it just needs to come to the front. And the easy way of doing this is probably just hooking your yarn behind it before going under that vertical bar, like so. Okay, so you can either bring the yarn forward, just tuck it down, seems fiddly because I'm going slow. Then we're going to put our hook onto that vertical bar, okay, that ladder there. Okay, that's second one. Then what we do, see our yarn's forward there, is we need to hook it over our hook. And the best way to do that is to do it from behind. So we just loop it up, okay, loop it up, then just hook it over, and then we're going to bring that through the vertical bar until we got our second loop. Okay, and then we do that all the way across. So we bring the yarn forward, go onto the next vertical bar, give your yarn just a little bit of a tug so it keeps it nice and neat, and then wrap it around your hook from behind so you've got a nice hookage, and bring it for the vertical bar. Okay, and you can see it creates this little loop underneath. We do that all the way across, so you can either bring it forward, then go under the vertical bar, and then hook it around and bring it through. Or if you want to create more of a rhythm, you can just put your hook behind the bar, which effectively brings that to the front. You can see effectively brings that to the front, which might be easier to do it that way. Put your hook under the bar, then just wrapping it underneath from the back, bringing it through the vertical bar, and give it just a little bit of a pull there. You can see it's starting to create the purl stitch. So you can either bring it to the front straight away and go under that next vertical bar, then wrapping it from behind, so go underneath from the back until it's hooked. Bring it under the bar. Give it a little pull just to neaten it off. Or like I said, you can just hook your hook underneath, which effectively just brings that to the front, then go under the vertical bar. You just need to make sure that your yarn you're working with is at the front every time. Then go underneath, so underneath and around the back so it's hooked. Bring it underneath the vertical bar. Okay, we're going to do that all the way across. So bring that to the front, go onto the next vertical bar. So I'm just working under these vertical bars here. Bring it through. Bring the yarn to the front, onto the next vertical bar, and hook. Yarn to the front, under the bar, hook and bring through, yarn to the front, into the next vertical bar, hook it, keep it in focus. Then always give it just a little tug afterwards, just to make sure you're keeping nice neat stitches. So yarn to the front, to the next vertical bar, bring it through, yarn to the front. How many have we got left? 3, 6, about 8 left. To the next vertical bar, underneath, so underneath, around from the back rather than the other way. Do it the same direction every time, just to make sure it's nice and neat, it looks the same. Yarn to the front, onto the next vertical bar, round from the back, bring it through, give it a little nice neat tug. Yarn to the front, it naturally falls to the front anyway, so the next vertical bar, underneath and round from the back, bring that through, yarn to the front, to the next vertical bar, underneath, round from the back, yarn to the front, next vertical bar, hook through. Yarn to the front, to the next vertical bar, hook it through, give it a little tug. We've got, how many have we got left? We've got about 2 left, so do the second to last one. And what we do is we need to make sure we go through the very last one here. So we skip the first one here, but we need to make sure we go in this last one. So make sure the yarn's to the front, and then you should be able to still see that vertical bar. Put put your hook under there, and it's the same thing, underneath, round for the back, and hook it through. Okay, and then just give it a little tug to make sure it's nice and neat. So there you go, you can see the purl stitch effect created. From there's your little loop of yarns because it's at the front. And then on the back row, it's exactly the same as all other back rows. No matter what stitch you're doing, we need to make sure we yarn over and just pull through one stitch. Do that little chain one at the beginning, so just pull through one. Always remember to do that. But from then on, we yarn over, pull through two. So yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. Also check your stitch count at the end before you come back. Make sure you've got 20 loops. Pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, pull through two, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, all the way back to the beginning. It's raining outside again. It's been raining loads lately. And there we go, back to the beginning, like so. And there we go, you've set your first row of purl stitches and you've got your next ladder stitches ready and waiting. And don't worry about the space, like so, that disappears when you work into them on the next row. So you can see you've got your next set of little vertical bars, ladder stitches here. And we do the same thing again. So we skip this very first vertical bar and we need to find that second one, which is now here. Okay, need to make sure your yarn's to the front. First one's always a little bit fiddly, so make sure your yarn's to the front. Put your hook onto that next vertical bar, then bring the yarn up underneath and around from the back and hook it through. Without catching the other bit. There we go, hook it through. And just give that a little tug to neaten off. And then repeat that again all the way across. So yarn to the front, it naturally falls to the front, onto the next vertical bar, underneath, round from the back, hook it through, and just give it a little tug. So yarn to the front, onto the next vertical bar. And just repeat that over and over again. It's as simple as that. Let's do one more row on camera, show you. So you can basically just drop your yarn, it drops to the front, onto the next vertical bar, hook it through, give it a little neat up tug. Neat up tug, what does that even mean? I talk gibberish. Like so. Hopefully after a little bit of practice you'll get into a rhythm of what works best for you. The most important thing to remember is just make sure the yarn's to the front and remember to do that little chain one on the way back. And to skip the first vertical bar, ladder stitch, but work into the last one. So this is creating a purl stitch effect. It's not actually doing the same thing as knitting. because it looks different on the back. But if you like the purl stitch effect, then this should be a really nice project for you. And what you can actually do is, if you've learnt the knit stitch as well, is you could alternate between a row of knit stitches and a row of purl stitches, and you'll get like a ribbing effect, which can look quite nice. But you can't do knit one purl one, really. I mean, effectively this is the closest you're going to get to knitting with crochet. You're creating an effect, it's not knitting. So if you want to do knitting, then I guess you'll just have to learn to knit. But we're just up the end there. We need to find the last vertical bar, which is just there. Don't confuse it with that bit there. So we just need to work to the end. It should just be vertically on the end, even if it's a bit small. And then hook through the last one. Pull that tight, and as you can see, that has closed that gap. If you remember, those ladder stitches created a little gap. That's now been closed by working your next row, and you can see the purl stitch coming together. Then on the back row, just remember to do a little chain one first, to just come through one loop first. Don't forget that. And make sure you've got your 20 loops as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Yeah. And then yarn over, pull through 2. All the way back to the beginning. And that is how you do the purl stitch effect in Tunisian crochet. So I hope you've managed to follow along. I hope it's inspired you to give Tunisian crochet a try. The best way to make a blanket in Tunisian crochet, I personally feel, unless you're making a really small like baby blanket, is to work little squares and join them together rather than a big project. Like I said, you can buy Tunisian hooks that have like a plastic extension on the end, which makes it a lot longer, so you can work bigger projects. So you just have to shop around. I picked these up on Amazon, so you can get them on Amazon, I think, quite easily. And there we go, back to the beginning. Like so you just repeat that over and over again. You can see now, because you've come back, you've got your next row of ladder stitches, these vertical bars here. Okay, so you would skip this first one on the end and work under this one first, and then you must remember to work into that last one, which is always a little bit harder to see, but there it is at the end. Okay, so if you just repeat that over and over again, you'll eventually end up with this effect, like so. And you can see there's the last row of ladder stitches that you would work into, and that is how you do the purl stitch. And it's really nice on the back, which is actually just as nice if you wanted to create a little bobbly effect. This is what it creates on the back, like so. And what I really like about this is you've got a nice neat edge down there, nice neat edge across there, and kind of got a neat edge across the top. But this is the only sort of rough edge here. But there we go. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Hope you've managed to follow along, and I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. And like I said, if you want to check out the knit stitch tutorial, how to create a knitting effect, there's a link in the description below. And I'll see you soon for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.